Okay, you're on.
Good afternoon. This is Elizabeth, myself, and Sean and Roxanne. Roxanne is a board member for
Arizona Families for Home Education.
Great. We're going to ask you what type of socialization, physical activities do you participate in?
Well, over the last 3 years, this year being excluded because my schedule was too full, we went to, what was it called?
Fit for Service.
Fit for Service, a PE that met twice a week for 2 hours, and we do a variety of sports and do a 1 mile run twice a week, and then we'd be timed on it. So we're not really lacking in physical activities. So I think one of the biggest misconceptions about homeschooling is it's very isolated, that it's only in the home, whereas with the organizations such as AFHE and then individual groups such as Veritas and then FG, as it's called, they really branch out and connect everyone together into one big group. And so we're not really isolated. So someone thought of the idea, you know, how can we have physical activities? So they threw together a PE group where the moms teach. And then for the socializing, I get socialization at church. I would say probably when you meet another homeschool guy, you can really connect to him real quick, such as the annual convention. I make a lot of friends there, and I usually keep in contact with them. And so I'm pretty tight with the other homeschool guys around the community.
Is that the homeschool convention every July that is held downtown? Okay. So what is the biggest disadvantage or advantage to homeschooling?
I'd say the biggest advantage, I'll start with that one off, I'll be a little optimistic. The biggest advantage is probably personalization of the school. So you can focus on really, like you can target your strengths or you can target your weaknesses. Whereas the public school they treat everyone as if there's a one-size-fits-all plan, whereas homeschooling, it can vary a little bit by the student. So it's a one-on-one counseling, so it's sort of more of a tutorship than anything else.
Is that based on experience? Have you ever been in a public school?
No, I haven't, but I'm actually friends with a lot of people who've been in public schools.
Okay, and so what do you think the other one is? Disadvantage?
The disadvantage? I really don't know. I can't really compare it because I've been homeschooled my whole life, thankfully. Maybe one of the big disadvantages is if you have a child prodigy, which I am not, that they can move on to like an honor class in the school and be constantly challenged, whereas here I would say that if I was a math prodigy, I'd have to go contact maybe some math classes thrown together by the homeschoolers. What do you think?
Yeah, so kind of acceleration. You're looking for, yeah.
What are the most common misconceptions about homeschool? I know you addressed it earlier.
I'd say the biggest question I get is when I am confronted and I say I'm a homeschooler. The biggest question is, how do you get socialized? Which was one of your first questions.
Yeah.
And I'd say that's the biggest misconception, is that we're locked in our house all the time and we never get out. Whereas I get to go out and do more activities than most of my public schooler friends. I get to go out and I was actually on a swim team last summer, and I got to do the swim team. I got to do a martial arts class, and I would say that's another big misconception, is we don't have resources, whereas our day is free and flexible. So I could go to a martial arts class in the middle of the afternoon if I wanted to.
So your resources are the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say it's expanding because I don't have a Loctite schedule. We can work our schedule around that and include it in our school day.
Can I ask you a question? Would you say your education has been more formal workbooks or versus hands-on activities and field trips?
We definitely have more hands-on at the beginning of the homeschooling, I think. We went on a field trip like once a week, it felt like.
Elementary years.
And now?
But now I'm mainly working out of a textbook.
Okay.
And it's actually, I become a little bit more independent, and it's seems like most homeschool moms sort of freak out thinking I'm going to have to teach all these high school stuff. But with the homeschool curriculums, it helps me be self-taught, and I just refer to her when I'm confused about something. So I mainly work out of a textbook.
Well, great. We're going to go ahead and ask Roxanne some questions now. We'd like to know, is it important for homeschool families to become a member of the Homeschool Association, which you're a board member of?
For that, what they can do is get a journal which has articles about homeschooling, trying to help educate them, you know, kind of continuing education kind of thing. So that's a benefit to members. And also what they're doing is supporting AFI watching legislation at the Capitol for what is going on with the laws that would affect homeschool law. And if it's something that would, you know, be negative toward that, then we alert the members. Please call your congressman, tell them your opinions on this piece of legislation.
Were you recently a part of the legislation that allowed young students to apply for scholarships?
Is that, are you talking about the disabled students?
No.
No, that's another one?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm not sure about that
Okay.
one. I'm not the one, there's a lawyer on our board, and she tracks all that in detail.
Great.
And so I don't keep as close an eye on that like she does.
What have you gained as a parent from homeschooling your children?
Oh, it's a great education.
You learned as well.
Yes, that is universally something you'll hear from homeschool moms is, oh, you know, I never paid that much attention to history when I was the student in high school, but now I'm teaching the subject and I am learning a tremendous amount. And I guess my students are learning too, but I'm learning a lot. And so people will joke around about that, how they're really learning. When you have to teach it, then you learn it even better.
How
So
many
it's
children have you
fun.
homeschooled?
So I have 2 children. My daughter is 18 and Sean is 16.
And you've been homeschooling both of them from day one?
Right, from kindergarten on.
What are the social, biophysical, and psychological education impacts on your choice as a parent, as well as for your children? What have they been?
Okay, that's very complicated.
I know. So let's go with just address
Yeah,
social.
let's go one at a time. All right, so social impact, I think is that their interaction with me, there's more interaction with the parent when you homeschool because you are their teacher. And so socially you're influencing them more because they just spend so much time with you. And so there's always the question in public school, they're influenced very heavily by their peers, and in homeschooling they're influenced heavily by their parents.
We've actually learned that in school, that children are influenced by their peers, mostly in school. So biophysical.
Biophysical, are you talking about physical education programs? What is the nature of that one?
Biophysical, I'm thinking physical programs.
Okay, so there's a lot of PE programs in the homeschool community. Some are nonprofit organizations put together by people running a company to offer physical education. Some
For
are
homeschoolers.
for homeschoolers, and there are some that are co-ops where parents have banded together and they take turns teaching, and their kids can play team sports because you have enough put together to make 2 teams. So both of those are readily available in the homeschool community.
And psychological education impacts. Do you think they have been?
So their the mental health of the children. I feel like they have come out with a lot of strength in terms of mental health in their after homeschooling, because I've been tutoring them, customizing the education to them. There's stressors in the public school environment, peer pressure, drugs are on campus, other things of an unpleasant nature are on campus, and they have not had to deal with that every school day of the year. So their environment has been comfortable and safe, but not overly isolated because of all the activities that we do. So
We're not.
I feel like it's a positive benefit for them in their mental health.
We're kept away from a lot of the negative influences, but by no means are we sheltered. Now, granted, there are some people who do like to hide their children from the world, but I would say that I'm not sheltered. Which is one of the worries that some people have, is once they go out to college and in the bad world, they're going to be knocked on their face. But
How do you think your sister has done going to college this last semester?
I think she's really flourished.
adjustment.
She's really flourished there, and so you know we're not really sheltered because we do get out and we do understand what the world is outside of these doors and outside of these walls.
Would you also consider homeschooling your children?
Yes,
Okay.
that would be a strong option, but it does depend on the willingness of my wife.
Oh, why would it only be the wife?
Well, because the mother does the heavy lifting, so if she's not really up to it,
That's the trend, huh?
yeah,
The trend that
that
it's the woman.
that is the trend.
It's
But-
not exclusive though.
No, but because there is a man called Bodhi Bakum, and he spoke 2 years ago at the convention. And once the children turn 13, he takes over the bulk of their education. So there's different ways parents usually do it.
I can see why that would be a success, though. I personally have seen fathers take a higher road in parenting at around that age, and it always is very successful at the end sometimes. Let me ask your mom one last question. What is your role as a board member of the Arizona Families for Home Education?
Let me come to that in just a second because
Okay.
this is kind of fun. I know a couple of homeschooling grandfathers.
No.
Yes. And they are the primary homeschooling.
Are they also the full-time parent?
No.
Okay.
The parent, because there's economic reality.
Correct.
And what can you afford, and who has the better paying job? If the male has the better paying job, then probably he will hold the job, and the female
Correct.
will school the children. It's economics. Can't get away from it. And so some families, they cannot afford not to have both parents working, and a couple of them have enrolled the grandfather, and he homeschools their children.
Wonderful.
So it's just, whatever you find, a situation that works for your family and be custom fit just for you.
That's
So-
what the nice positive part of homeschooling would be.
Right.
So tell me about your role on the board.
Right. I answer email and voicemail inquiries that come in. Some of those I route to other people. I know, this is, about convention. I route it to the convention person. Anything that's miscellaneous, I answer all of those that don't route to someone else, with a target. Then also I'm the director of the senior high graduation ceremony. And so we have that every year at the Phoenix Convention Center where the convention is.
How long have you been a board member?
2.5 years.
You and your husband are both board members.
Right.
So it's not just you exclusively.
Right, it's couples. It's all couples.
It's all couples. And why do you think it's that way?
The couples? I think we need the workers.
Ah.
When you look at the workload that we
Empowers
take
more people,
on,
yeah.
and how many people do you have on a board before it's unwieldy and
Plus, it also helps enforce the idea of the family, right?
family.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. Well, thank you very much for your time today. We really appreciate learning firsthand about homeschooling, and we appreciate your time today. Thank you for inviting us to your home.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.